Welcome to Project 1, the wooden jewellery box with the finger joints. This is the processing or cutting out video. And we're going to start off with the handle. So we have two little splays or angles to take off our handle. So for that we need our tenon saw. There'll be separate videos on how to use all these tools properly, but for this video just remember to keep your index finger extended when you're cutting and keep your thumb up as well so you don't cut it by accident. You need your bench hook into your vise and your piece of wood then is held in with your hand. We want to saw on the right hand side of this line, so we always cut on what we call the waist side of the line. So not going to saw cut on the line, but just to the right of that line, just to the left of that line. Take it nice and slow, get a nice clean cut. So you start off just by drawing the saw back 2 or 3 times. That gives us a lovely little curve to start with. We can see it's on the waist side of the line. And we continue then to cut down nice and slowly. Remember your saw only cuts on the way forward, so don't be putting too much pressure on it on the way back. Nice and gently, and put your scraps into a bin for recycling. That's simply our handle, 2 simple cuts. Now for the front and back and the 2 end pieces, we have some material to remove. So there's 2 different types of material removal we have to look at. The removal of this waste here on the front and the back, which is internal to the wood, as in not on the edges. And then on our end pieces we have some wood to be removed in the center, just like the front and back, but we also have 2 corner pieces to remove on each end. So we'll look at those first. These will simply require sawing in both directions, and the middle piece will require some sawing and some chiseling, so we'll have a look at that. So put your wood into your vise nice and level. Keep it nice and tight. You'll need your tenon saw again. We're going to cut again on the X side of the lines, so we'll have to have a cut here, here, here and here, with 4 cuts on each end. Remember, don't just keep to the teeth in the middle of the saw like this. As you'll wear those teeth out, use the full length of your saw. Stopping just at the waistline. So we have 3 more of those to do on this end. Making sure to cut on the X side of the line. Okay, so we can rotate that wood now 90 degrees. Again, if you let your wood just sit on the bottom of the vise, it will keep it nice and level for you. Otherwise, you can just judge it by eye. So we want to cut on the right hand side or the X side of this line here to remove the corner. gently. So you'll see that pop off. So that's our corner taken off. We repeat that for the other corner. That's our two corners taken off. We repeat that for these two corners, and the same then for the other end piece. So these two pieces will be identical. Now to remove the center piece here, we've made our two saw cuts. Next we want to get a chisel, just to chisel down maybe 2-3 millimeters, and then we'll chisel in from the end grain, and we'll remove this little bit by little bit. So I'm going to take 18mm chisel. These are 24mm wide. If you remember from the marking video, we have a 25mm chisel which is too wide. So we'll take the 18 and we'll put it on the line and just tap it down with our mallet a couple of millimeters. Just make sure we go all the way across. Repeat that for the other side. Put that back in our vise. And we just chisel down vertically, come in 2 or 3 millimeters from the edge. You'll see that pop off very easily. Same on the front side here. Okay. So we're looking to remove all this wood little bit by little bit, maybe 2-3 millimeters at a time until it is all removed. So just repeat that process again. You could also remove this with a coping saw, but you'll have to still use a chisel to finish off the shoulders. So it takes a little bit of time, but patience is worth it. See how easy they pop off. Okay, and then the very last piece remaining will probably just pop out now when we put the chisel to it. There it goes. Now with pine you might get a little bit of pitting or a little bit of denting in the wood here on the shoulder. That's fine. When we glue this up, some glue will actually seep in there and seal it up. Okay, so that's typically what the end piece looks like. You need to repeat that then for the other side, exact same process. Same for the other end. So we'll just continue with that and pop back then to show you how we remove once more these little pieces here from the front and back. So just keep that chisel tight in against the shoulder. Okay, so we have nice clean shoulders here now on our 3 fingers that are removed, and just finish off the end piece. The process is exactly the same for the front and back. These 2 pieces and these 2 pieces to be removed in the exact same way that we removed the center of this one. So as with a lot of woodwork processes, you get a lot of repetition, and that's what makes you better and better. Okay, so I'll just go through the removal of one of these pieces. There's 8 in total to remove on the front and the back. And as I said, these are removed in the same way we took out the center of the end pieces. So we'll saw down on the X side of the lines. And then chisel down, again the 2 or 3 millimeters for each one. You can do this for all 4 while that face is turned up towards you. Just doing one here for display purposes. Back into your vise. And just come in 2 millimeters from the edge and tap down. Oh, sorry, wrong one. They just pop off then. One more time for each side. A big mistake a lot of people starting out woodwork do is to hit down on the chisel too many times and you end up burying the chisel in the wood. So as a general rule, I generally tell students no more than 3 taps. Maybe 4 if you're a little bit more advanced. So it's better to remove the wood slowly rather than rush it. And then the last piece will probably come out just with the chisel. So again, we're keeping that chisel right in tight against the shoulder all the time. 3 taps on the other side should see that remove itself then. And there it pops out. Okay, again, as I said, don't worry about pitting on soft woods like pine. That is going to fill up with glue. You won't get that if you're using hardwoods like your maple and your oaks, etc. So repeat that for the other 3 on the front, and it's the exact same then for the other 4 on the back.
Something on the outside.
And we'll just finish off the last two pins here. And these should pop out by themselves. So that's the ends of the front and the back. They should all look like that when you're finished. Right, so we have front and back completely cut out and our two end pieces. So we'll give them a break for a few minutes, let them settle down, and we'll take a look at the lid once more. Now, one piece I didn't mention yet was the base, and that can only really be addressed when we have our joints all joined up into the box shape. So we'll put that aside as well. Our lid, we've already drilled the pilot hole in the marking out video. We have this underlid which will be glued on when the box is finished. Again, that can go to the side. So we'll just talk about putting our handle on. In the kit you'll find, I think there's 5 4x40mm Phillips head screws. Okay, so one of these will go into the pilot hole. These are 4mm shanks, or the 4mm wide screws. Our pilot hole was 2mm. You could get away with a 3mm bit. And we want to screw that in just until it pops through the other side. We're going to catch our handle on it then. So you'll be positioning your handle. You can use a ruler if you want to get it absolutely perfectly in the middle, but by eye is fine here. We want the screw to come through the pilot hole directly into the center of the handle. So we'll take our cordless screwdriver now and put it in nice and gently. So we just have the tip of the screw coming through here. Little tip here. We can center our lid onto that and twist it. Okay, so that will just catch the screw. You can see there now it's kind of holding it. And then we can put our screw in nice and gently. I always like when putting in the screw to let it back out. It allows the wood just to take the shape of the thread a little bit more easily. Okay, so that's good and tight on that, and the screw is nice and flush. So that combined with our underlid will give us the lid we require for the box, and glue that on later on. Now, our last little bit of chiseling is to get our joints fitted up to get the outer box shape. So we're going to work one corner at a time. I'm starting here with corner number 1, and I want to get those fitting in nicely together. Now, if you've sawed it absolutely perfectly, which no woodworker has ever, they will perfectly fit together straight away. But with 99.9% of all woodwork joints, we need to do a little bit of fettling or fitting. So we may need to pare down a little bit of material off the cheeks of the joints. So you've got your shoulders here and your cheeks, to get them to slot together perfectly with the female joint. So be mindful of the numbers. We're working on corner 1. They're a pretty good fit already. You could push them together with a bit of pressure, but we need some room for a glue. So we're going to take a little bit off with a chisel off the cheeks of the 4 sides here. So back into the vise, next to the level. Take the widest chisel you have, so I'm going to use a 1-inch chisel here. And we're just going to pare down a bit of material off each one. So I'm going to go right to the pencil line or pen line. You can see, keep your hands on the chisel. Don't hold the wood for safety reasons. So it's a process you want to take your time with, because if you remove too much, you're going to have loose joints. And not that that's a major problem with this project, but with more complicated projects, it will certainly frustrate you. Okay, so we're looking to take off little slivers like that. So we check it every now and again. So number 1 with number 1. We have our face side markings facing down to the bench. Okay, so this one here is fitting a little bit better. This one leads a little bit more off. Might even clean up the insides of the female part of the joints. So we're just vertically paring little slivers off. And right to the pencil line here. Just use our smaller chisel to clean off the shoulder. So it's just a process of patience, really. Just checking the whole time until we get a nice fit. So you can see them starting to slip in and actually hold there. So you might just clean off the cheeks on the front and back, just to help with the fitting. So take these back to the pen line as well. So again, you want to get them fitting as perfect as you can. Not too tight. The whole project should go together with your hands rather than having to bang it together. Okay, so that's enough off the female end of the joint. Try these again. Yeah, so you can see now that's starting to, this one is perfect. Just going to take a little bit more off the shoulder of number 1 here. So it's a slow process, but take your time with it. Taking off a little bit at a time. Okay, so they're starting to go together. So a little bit more on this one. Okay, so we'll continue that process. Until we get this one fitted, and you repeat it then for the other 4 corners. clean off that shoulder. So we should be getting pretty close as I break my vise. So I have another fit with this one, number 1. Yeah, so that's going together very nicely now. You hear that lovely clicking sound that we like from a good joint. Okay, so you're going to see tiny little gaps here on the shoulders, but this has to be glued and clamped up and they will close up. So that's a good fit, goes together by hand. And you're looking for that fit on the other 3 corners. So we'll continue with that and come back then to fitting the base. So we have the base now held in the vise here, and we have all 4 corners fitted up. You should end up with a box that's pretty square. You can test it with your tri-square. Just keep fitting the joints until you get nice 90-degree angles on all your corners. So we just locate that on top of the base. The front and the back will be nice and flush. And we have a little piece of timber sticking out either side for effect. So with a ruler, we'll just check that we have approximately 1 centimeter sticking out at each end, 1 centimeter on the other side. We take our pen, just run a line along the outside of the box, make sure the box doesn't move, and then we draw a rectangle along the inside bottom of the box onto the base. So that will leave us with kind of a rectangular pattern here on the wood. And we want to locate 4 screws here, 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 and here approximately, so we can screw up from underneath and join our base onto the top. So we can do that using X's again. We can just extend these lines here. So we extend those 2 lines. That creates 4 rectangles now that we can put an X in to find the center for our pilot holes. So we're getting to the exciting part now of assembling our box. So that's the location of the dead center for that pilot hole. Repeat for the other 4 rectangles. 2. Again, the longer you make the lines, the more you've got to rub out or sand off. So you can see that would be a full X, but the smaller ones are fine. Okay, that goes back into the vise then gently. We take our 2mm pilot bit and we'll drill straight down through the 4 centers. Okay, so we'll line that up with the box again. Turn the box upside down. Just align our edge markings here, so we know that's its final position. And we'll take 4 40x4 screws again, the same as the screws for the lid, and we'll put 4 screws through our base up into our box sides. Again, we're at a stage called dry fitting here, so we're putting in our screws and we have our joints together. Nothing has glue on it yet. We want to make sure that everything absolutely fits perfect in the kind of dry layout before we commit to putting any glue and assembling it for its final time. We also will have some fitting to do for our underside of our lid, so that fits in nicely into the top of the box. So that might require a little bit of sawing and sanding. We'll deal with that later on, and then that will be glued onto our top. So we're nearly there. I'm just going to get our 4 screws in and we'll get to fitting the underlid into our box. Now for fitting the lid, we probably want to cut off maybe 3 or 4 millimeters off the length. So that's 122 and our piece is a bit longer. Sorry, that's 127 and our wood is 130. So we want to take off 4 millimeters off this piece here. So we'll need our face side, face edge logo, and our symbols, and we'll take 4 millimeters off one end using our tri-square to mark that around. So we'll just saw that off using our tenon saw and our bench hook in the vise. Okay, so we're going to be losing a small piece of timber that will make it fit easy into the box. It's also a little bit tight sideways, but we might just leave that for the moment. That will probably just need a little bit of hand sanding on both sides just to take off the bit of friction. See here, it does slide into the box, but it's a little bit tight. So we'll give that a bit of a sanding as well, just so this fits in nice and snug. So we'll get back to the vise and get this cut off. See now that fits in nicely with the 4 millimeters taken off. And it's a little bit tight on the sideways measurement. We can sand off, as I said. Just sand the sides lightly with your electric sander, until you have a nice smooth fit. Okay, so having sanded the sides of the lid under, we have a nice fit now. That's pretty loose going in there. You don't want to let go and let that fall in. You'll have trouble getting it back out. So what we're going to do is disassemble this and apply some glue. There is glue in your kit. It's PVA glue that I've been using for a long time. Very strong, sets in about an hour, but I recommend you leave it overnight. So you want to take apart all the bits. Leave your screws to one side. Same with the top, you want to take the handle off. Everything comes apart for sanding. Okay. So you'll give the base a good sanding. Maybe use a sandpaper that's a 120 grit. I'll have separate videos on sanding techniques coming up. Or you can just use a hand electric sander if you have one, it's much easier. You can give the lid under a good sanding. You give your handle a good sanding, especially on the end grain, the lid itself. And the four sides then need to come apart for gluing, so just be careful taking them apart. Okay, you want to apply a little bit of glue to the insides of the female joints, that's on the front and the back. So you don't want too much glue leaking out. Basically, you could put it on with a little paintbrush or rub it in with your finger. A little art paintbrush is the best. Push it back together. Okay. Check it with your tri-square when you have the glue in. Just check it that all the sides are nice and square again. And you put glue on all four corners. You could sand it up before you glue it, or you can glue it together and just sand all the outside. The inside we haven't really put any markings on, so it's nice and clean. So I'm going to get this glued up and get all the pieces sanded and put it back together. And I should end up with the very same project as we have here on the prototype. What kind of finish you want to put on it is up to yourself. I have a nice oil on this one here. I think this is Danish oil I put on the prototype. I have another one somewhere with varnish on it. And you want to varnish it all over, seal it up, even inside. Make sure that there's nowhere moisture can get into the wood and make it all swell up. Okay. So that's about it for that video. Hope you've enjoyed making your jewelry box or cookie box, whatever you're going to use it for. And it's all put back together. Just the last thing to say, this is the lid here. Okay. Put a bit of glue on the underside of the lid and squish it onto the top of the box. It'll still have a little bit of movement in it. Then place that onto your box until you're happy that the lid sits nice and flush with the sides. And that will just glue in place overnight. The glue will be strong enough itself to hold that in place. So if you look at this top we made before, you can see that's just glued on. It's really strong. Couldn't pull that apart if I tried. In general, PVA glue when it sets is stronger than the wood, so if you want to break it, the wood has to break, not the glue joint itself. Okay, so enjoy that. Don't forget to subscribe and like the YouTube page. Follow us on Facebook for some more advice, and maybe share your pictures of your own boxes that you've made. If you have any questions, you can ask me through Facebook or in the comments below on the YouTube channel. I'd love to see your finished boxes. Anyone new to the channel, you can buy the kits in the eBay link below, or sign up for the Patreon account. I think it's $8 a month at the moment. You get the full cutting list, so you can get the timber yourself. You can choose different timbers, and you also get access to the full length video.